Hey everyone. So today I want to talk a little bit about a 12 bar blues. And basically, I want to talk about the type of 12 bar blues. It's a little bit more common to the jazz idiom than even rather to the just straight up blues idiom. And the reason I'm going to talk about that is because a lot of times the blues in the jazz context happens to be a normal 12 bar blues, like we've talked about in MAT, just a really standard 12 bar form, which we'll review in a second. And the only difference is it includes a lot of modal interchange and secondary dominance, which almost makes it like a Harmony 2 blues. So we'll look at a specific tune example for homework in the coming days in Blues for Alice by Charlie Parker. But let's start now. I just kind of want to do a little bit of a demonstration as to exactly what I mean when I say a jazz blues. So to me, what's written down right here, this is the standard 12 bar blues. This is just like if you were to like add its there's when it comes to 12 bar blues, there are so many variations. There is lots of different ways to do this. So I'm just going to use this as an example of what the standard 12 bar blues form is. I understand that sometimes maybe you add a B flat chord here, maybe you don't have a turnaround chord here, or you have a 2-5 here, or and there's lots of different things you could do. But I look at this as its very simplest, a blues in its very simplest form, and it sounds kind of like this. Oh, sorry, it doesn't sound quite like that. I didn't add a 4 chord there. I'll do it again. You know what I did? I subconsciously added a 4 chord right there. So pretend that didn't happen. Oh, by the way, that's my daughter Vera singing along. I'll have her make a guest appearance in a moment. But in any case, I almost dropped my computer. But in any case, that more or less would be like more of a standard 12 bar blues. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a few steps, add some subdominant minor modal interchange just to change some of the colors of this. I also want to say for the record, I'm not taking a blues and improving it when I say that. I mean, I'm just taking a blues and doing some different harmonic things to it. So I don't want to say that by doing this I'm like taking this bad version of the blues and making it better. I'm just kind of making some other changes. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a 2-5-1 right here. See what I did here? Instead of just go from white right to the 5 chord, I added a 2-5. That, that term perfect jazz cadence, which isn't my favorite, jazz cadence isn't my favorite term in the world, but it happens a lot in jazz, and here we're going to do a jazz blues, so let's do it. Also, see this 5 chord right here? We're going to make that a 2-5. Like so, right? So basically, we took some opportunities to add some 2-5s where we could. That's step 1. Step 2 in transforming to a 12 bar blues will be to take add some modal interchange in this area right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a B flat major 7 chord. And then I'm going to change this to a B flat minor 7 chord. And of course, as we know from subdominant modal interchange, a 4 minor 7 chord can happen when you're dealing with subdominant minor modal interchange, like where you would normally use a 5, where you might normally use a dominant chord, like that you could go from C to F right here, and that would work out just fine. But instead, we're going to use subdominant minor modal interchange. I hope my daughter's yelling isn't too distracting. Hopefully, it'll be amusing. It's kind of all I'm working with, all I can work with right now. So doing the best we can. so anyway, step 1, add 2-5s where you can. Step 2, add subdominant minor modal interchange. Now step 3 is a little bit more involved. This is going to be where we add some secondary dominance. First one will come right here. See this G minor 7 chord here? What's a perfect 5th above G? It's D. So let's add a D7 chord right here. which is a 5, 7 of 2. We can even go so far as to add the related 2 of this chord right here. So what's up a perfect fifth from D? It's A. And since this is going to be a 2, 5, 1, the end of the line, see the bracket to the arrow, that leads us to a minor chord. That means that I think you'd be better off using a minor 7 flat 5 here, because the target chord is a minor chord, so related to minor 7. And then we're even going to try, we'll add a related 2 and a secondary dominant right here. What's a perfect fifth above B flat? It's F. What's a perfect fifth above F is C. So there you have it, right? So let's see, with all of our changes, let's just see what that sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sound kind of like that. So it's already a lot different than it was before. I'll compare to the two in a minute. But I want to take this a little bit of a step further. What can be a really interesting thing to do in what's called, kind of referred to as a bird blues, bird being the nickname for Charlie Parker, is to add a lot more 2, 5, 1s in sort of a, that connect to each other kind of in these measures here. How I do that is what's a perfect, we take our C minor chord, and what's a perfect fifth above that? It's G. So I'll just write this and then I'll show you. See what I did here? This G7 chord is going to lead to that new C minor chord. And see this D minor chord? What's a perfect fifth above that? That's A. See what I did here? Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take, in this measure, just to like sort of make the E minor 7 flat 5 stick out a little bit more, I'm just going to change this chord to an F major 7 chord. You kind of could go either way, but I tend to hear a lot more jazz blueses have major chords as the one chord, probably because you're like, it kind of emphasizes the root a little bit more here. You're adding a lot of chords, obviously, so maybe having a good, more solid one rather than a 1 dominant 7 isn't such a bad idea. Don't mind me looking over my shoulder at my daughter, but she's safe and enjoying some paper right now. No worries. So let me play the new blues. You want to hear the new blues, Vera? Let's check out the new blues. I'm putting her on my lap, and we'll try it. Let's see if I can play it with her on my lap. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. That was good. Okay, so that note at the end was added by my daughter. Say hi to my class. Hi. Hello, Harmony 2. Okay, go play with your toys. So that's sort of the new blues. The older version of the blues, if you take just the blue colors here and you kind of go back, the jazz blues. So, as you can see, there's a lot that the modal interchange and the secondary dominants do. I mean, I would say that I wouldn't call it necessarily better or worse, and there's also other changes that can be made. I'll tell you one that that I find myself doing is I find myself making this an I know, Vera. You don't like this change as much as I do, but that's okay. I find myself doing F major 7 and D7 here, sub 5 of 2. See that? Perfect fifth above. Going like so. Pretty cool. You can even do things like if you get really slick and do, you'll notice in Blues for Alice, it goes A, D, A flat, and D flat right here, which kind of sounds... That can be when you add substitute dominants to the equation. So that can be kind of cool. So yeah, but that's the short of it. That's basically like, again, it's not making necessarily a blues better. It's just showing what the effect of secondary dominants and subdominant minor modal interchange can have on like a very basic song form. Okay, she's crying. I'm going to go. I'll see you guys in the live class in a second.